What's going on, guys? Got another instant reaction here from the Connor and Mark show. We recorded this episode, this instant reaction, December 21st, Monday night, the day after the Eagles lost to Arizona. And we're really just here to react to a stellar performance, a duel in the desert between Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts once again shows up and shows out for the Philadelphia Eagles if they did just come up short against Arizona, fall to 4-9-1 on the season. But Mark, how you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm excited we get this instant reaction in. It was a excuse me, tough Birds game. The outcome was tough, but the game really looked like they were in it. They really looked like a different team than they've looked the past few weeks. Got to give it to Hurts. He looked really well. So excited to dive into that. And then obviously the big news with the college football playoff rankings coming out. We'll react to that, and we got a little surprise at the end about a MVP candidate that I think is getting a bit of disrespect, but I'm excited, man. And how you doing?
I'm doing good, and yeah, like we said, it was a really good game yesterday, and I know it's disappointing to see the Eagles lose. As close as they did, it's obviously always disappointing, even though that they are maybe have the mindset, um, franchise wise, that missing out on the playoffs and getting a high pick where they are slotted at currently at 7 would be probably better than making the postseason, but still seeing a game like that and the way that it ended, it's still disappointing for them to lose. But Jalen Hurts, once again, was very impressive. He was 24 for 44, 338 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Also on the ground, he had 63 yards and a rushing touchdown. So, on the ground and in the air, he was unbelievable. Alshon Jeffrey showed up with 2 catches for 63 yards. Ertz has 2 catches for 69 yards. Quez Watkins with a big touchdown pass off that screen pass on 3rd and 20. Travis Fulgham, had got back into the column with 2 catches for 30 yards. And Greg Ward, he only had 4 catches for 15, but he had 2 touchdown passes. The second touchdown pass was a very nice one to get the feet down. But overall, this offense, like we said before, has not only lit a spark, but has completely changed. Night and day from previous when Wentz was in the game for the Eagles. So it was an exciting game. It was fun to watch. Both offenses were fantastic, but really at the end of the day, what I think lost the game for the Eagles was DeAndre Hopkins versus that secondary. He made 2 huge grabs on that final drive for Arizona, and he showed why he was probably the best wide receiver in football. And there's not a lot of guys who make that touchdown grab on the sideline over Seymour, who really actually had a pretty impressive game for what was expected out of him coming into filling a role for Darius Slay. So he did get burnt. Obviously, Kyler Murray had a huge day passing the ball. What do you have? About, I think, over 400 yards passing for Kyler Murray, 406 with 3 touchdowns and an interception. DeAndre Hopkins had 9 receptions for 169 yards, and he had a big day. So it's obviously disappointing, but seeing Jalen Hurts progress and have another great game, I think is very exciting for the fans, the franchise itself going forward. And now we're looking at a real quarterback controversy heading into this off season. And I think we'll take a little bit of a dive into this. We'll probably, go more into it when we record our podcast later in the week. But it's really entering into a huge quarterback controversy this off season, and Jalen Hurts has really played himself into this starting role for the Eagles.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to start out with the outcome of the game, like I said, just it was disappointing. The game as a whole was very action packed and interesting to watch. But again, like you said, DeAndre Hopkins is, killed the Eagles late there. And it seems like that's kind of a reoccurring theme with this secondary. To dive into that a little bit, we thought that was going to get taken care of with Darius Slay. And just to take a look inside the numbers here, the past 3 games, the best receiver on those 3 teams that we played, starting with the Saints, Michael Thomas, 8 receptions, 84 yards. Devontae Adams, 10 receptions, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then DK Metcalf, 10 receptions for 177 yards. So, where one spot looks like gets, turned around in the quarterback position, unfortunately, there's another spot that's gaping. And that's going to be, in the secondary. And that seems to be a cause for some more of these Eagle problems. But all in all, I really thought that obviously Hurts looked phenomenal. He really looks like he's revived some of these wide receivers that we thought were dead. In particular, Alshon Jeffrey going up against Patrick Peterson. He looked phenomenal, just from what we saw throughout this year. And as you alluded to, Quez Watkins only second career reception yesterday, and he turned that into gold with a touchdown. And just the relationship that Greg Ward and Jalen Hurts looks like, they formed. Obviously, Greg Ward being a former quarterback in college for Houston, so it looks like they might be on the same page a little bit out in space. But the tough thing about this game was the slow start for me in particular. Eagles obviously allowed a safety on their first drive, and then that turned into 16-0. I thought Hurts really did a good job of overcoming the adversity and not really let the pressure get to him. But with that and with that great play, it goes to your point about the quarterback controversy that especially here in Philadelphia, we love making a lot of controversy and we're always on the starter, which was Wentz, but now Hurts. So it's really going to be an interesting offseason. I think with the amount of money that Wentz is receiving and the time that he's been here, I believe it's going to be a battle. But the way that Hurts is playing right now in comparison to how Wentz has been playing all year, again, small sample size, but it looks like Hurts right now may be the quarterback of the future here for the Eagles.
Yeah, there was a couple plays I think yesterday I was so surprised for him to see, and one that really stuck out to me was that final drive. Obviously, it didn't end in a touchdown for the Eagles. They came out just short, but he was rolling out to his right, and I forget who got their hand on it, defensive end for the Arizona Cardinals, but it was a strip sack. He fumbles the ball. The ball's on the ground with two Arizona Cardinals right behind him. He picks up the ball, has a wherewithal to look downfield and find Dallas Goedert on the sideline, complete the pass, and get out of bounds. So he has that poise and that playmaking ability that people were raving about when he came out of Oklahoma and Alabama, as he's a calm, cool, collected guy, and we're seeing this not only off the field but on the field as well. And listen, that's the big question going into this game was, can he do it with his arm? Because he did have 160 passing yards against the Saints, which is not a whole lot, but he did have 100 on the ground. So I was interested to see, can he win a football game? Can he go out and impressed with his arm? And he did. He threw for over 300 yards and had 3 touchdown passes. So he looked like he belongs in this league. And it's really exciting to watch this offense and Jalen Hurts play. It's night and day from, like I said, with Carson Wentz at their helm. And now we're going to be really talking about the scenario with Carson Wentz, and are they going to be able to bring him back into the situation where he got benched for a rookie quarterback, and the rookie quarterback comes in and just plays so much better than I think we've seen Carson play all year, and him be able to come into camp, win the job, and then go out and play at a high rate, a high level that we expected him, like in 2017, and that MVP type level. I don't know. I doubt it. So I feel like the chances of him getting traded is likely, but the problem is obviously with that contract and that number, that's going to be against the cap. Even if we do trade him, it's still going to be upwards of 30 million. So there was a report that came out before the Cardinals game. It was Carson Wentz saying that he does not want to be back if he's a backup quarterback. So if that's the case, I think the best case scenario for Carson coming into next year is you're going to have to compete for your job, because if Jalen went out in these last 4 games and just didn't impress, then it's easier to go right back to Carson at the start of the year. But with Jalen balling out like this and playing at a high level for a rookie quarterback, it's hard to just give the job back to Carson. So he's got to go out and win it. And if he doesn't win it, then obviously he's going to be disgruntled and want to leave. So it's going to be interesting to see if whether Carson's going to try and want to restructure his deal to make it easier for Howie and the front office to deal him. I don't know what his stock is around the league. I know a lot of people throw out teams like the Colts or obviously the Jaguars, but I feel like they could probably get the quarterback with their first overall pick now, since the Jets are idiots. But but I think that there's a couple teams that could use him, but it's a matter of that contract and taking a flyer on the guy who really just had a really bad year. So I'll throw this to you. Where do you think they stand, and what do you think Howie and Doug are thinking after these past 2 games? Or do you think it's too early to just throw Wentz to the curb after watching Hurts play these first 2 games of his career?
Yeah, I totally think that, with what Wentz has shown and his athletic ability over the past few years, obviously some big injuries, such as 2017 that ended that, phenomenal season. And if he finished, probably would have won the MVP. 2018, unfortunately, with the back injury that ended his season early. And then obviously last year stays healthy for the entire season, but then the playoffs come around and that's it. for Wentz there, and the Eagles end up losing. So, you know, I really think that Wentz just has had a really, I mean, clearly has had a terrible year. The decision making, the passes, the reading the defenses, the time getting the ball out, just everything, whether to run or whether to pass, everything's been off, and it just hasn't been him. Obviously there's other factors such as the offensive line and getting Jalen Hurts in the second round. But all in all here, I think that they're going to go into camp. They're going to compete hard. And I think there is a high possibility that Wentz can really show that this year is a fluke and he can turn it around. And I don't want to kick him to the curb just yet because we do owe him a lot of money. And a trade would just be giving up on him. So I know a lot of people probably aren't going to be happy with that opinion and might think that he is done and it's time for him to depart Philadelphia. But I think it's a little too early. Again, Hurts is a calm, cool, collective rookie, and he's shown it over the past 2 games against a great defense and the Saints coming in and the team against the Cardinals. But he has 2 games to go here, and I'm not wishing him bad, but he's got to prove it here in the next 2, and I believe he can. And the last thing I'm going to say on this is I think it's healthy for a bit of competition going in the next season. I think this team needs a bit of a competitive edge. I think this team needs a bit of a obviously a spark in Jalen Hurts coming in at the end of this season, but going into next season, I think they need to get back onto the winning path and the winning pedigree that this franchise is capable of. So we'll see. There's definitely a lot of question going into this offseason in regards to Howie and Doug Peterson and the coaches and also some players. So we'll see how this team shapes out going into training camp. But I think for sure there's a really good chance that Wentz could come back and could compete for that starting job again.
Yeah, a little bit of news today. The Eagles activated a 21-day practice window for wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, and obviously he went down in the Giants game with the ankle injury. And they also brought up offensive tackle Casey Tucker from the practice squad, or they brought him back to the practice squad. So also other breaking news that just dropped for the Eagles: Pro Bowlers have just announced that Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, and Fletcher Cox have been announced to the Pro Bowl. I think that may be the first time Brandon Graham has made the Pro Bowl. As surprising I think that is, I don't want to be. I'm not 100% certain of that, but I'm pretty sure because I know he never put up big sack numbers, so it was always hard for him to make the Pro Bowl. Yeah, no, I can confirm. Tim McMahon has just said that Brandon Graham's heading to his first Pro Bowl, and rightfully so. He's had a great year, with the team, and he's obviously been a huge help on that line. So going back to like we said before moving into college football. Mark, are you there?